Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. here in Ireland, and today we have a full house with our guests here and someone here behind me. Is not a spirit. Uh, so good to have you all here. Today's topic it is Napoleon and Kardec. Did you know that we had a story between Kardec and Napoleon? So stay tuned with us today, and we will tell you how this happened and what the story and how important was this for the planet evolution. But as I always say, I'm not alone. Thanks God. Thank God. Charles is with me, Silvia, and today a special guest, our dear Vanessa Celoni. Uh, and so let's start with our guest. Good evening, my dear Vanessa Celoni. How are you, my dear? You're in the mute, my dear.
Yes, I am happy to be here with all of you in this beautiful program, Spiritual Light, and especially with the theme today. We begin the new year, and it's only the 10th day of the year, and it's worthwhile thinking about our reincarnatory plan, why we came to be on Earth right now, and through the experience of Napoleon and Kardec, we can certainly mirror ourselves and see where we are. I'm excited about this conversation.
Thank you. Good evening, Miss Gibbons. I know you are a little bit sick, but thank you for being here with us.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. It's my first time here. Looking forward to this year and something really good things to happen. And, as Vanessa said, that's a very important conversation because there is such a connection and it's a lot of learning for us because and some horrible things are happening. We are very aware of that. But also, we know that it's for new things to happen. So, although we are here in this moment, but there is a lot of hope for the future. So it's nice to be with all of you, Charles and Vanessa, that we hadn't seen for a while, and you, Stevan, and everyone that is there out there watching us. So participate, ask questions. That would be nice.
Mm,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir Stevan, bonsoir, bonjour Vanessa, bonsoir Silvia. Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, very happy to be here. Welcome back, Silvia. All the best for the new year. I think we told it already last week. And the subject today is quite strange, looks strange. Kardec and Napoleon. Both are French, of course, but let's see a little bit more about this whole story, and it's quite fascinating. I hope you will enjoy.
Good, good, good. So, just for those who are listeners, please uh, put your comments here. If you have any questions, if you have any idea, please let us know. Talk to us. Let's let's make this a very good conversation. In terms of context, I just want to put everybody in which stage of the history we are. Okay, we are in 1799, more precisely December 1799, just a month after Napoleon was nominated the first consul of the France after the French Revolution. And this is good for us to understand where we are and what happened. In December 1999, a big event happened. Why? In order to guide, in order to alert Napoleon, because he was not following what his reincarnation plan was programmed. That's it. That's the context I want to give before we start to talking here. And I'd like to to ask, especially for you, Charles. You are the French representative here today. Would you please could put us more in a context what happened in France at that time and why it was important the intervention from the high spirits at that moment?
Hmm. Wow, that's a good question. I will try to answer in the best possible way. Well, I think the most known episode, a decade or a little bit more decade, a decade before this date was the French Revolution. Huh? So in 1789, there was la prise de la Bastille, as we say in French, huh? And the kingdom was finished. Huh? And also this dominance of the Catholic religion, which was the only one allowed, authorized in France. For instance, to be Lutheran or Protestant or whatever was forbidden. So it was really a strong, how to say, a strong regime. The king with all the rights and this connivance with the church and the bishops and whatever. And this basically exploring the people, very few freedom, very few liberty. You had 95% of the people working hard for almost nothing, and only 5% or even less people with full of privilege or with all the money. So there was a American Revolution a little bit before, isn't it, Vanessa? A couple of years before the French one. And these ideas of liberties, of changing a regime, of going out of these monarchies and so on, was somehow in the air. And there was a lot of influence of French intellectuals in the American Revolution. And the American Revolution served as an example for many others, including the French one, more or less in the same period. So, of course, the how to say it, the revolution, there were a lot of good ideals, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Look at this, liberté, égalité, fraternité. So, if we would have fraternity today in our society and in the world, we would not be in a situation, as Silvia commented it a little bit during her first speech, with a lot of wars, whatever. With fraternity or brotherhood, of course, the world societies would be completely different, and that was already the ideal more than 200 years ago during that revolution. But as usual, with violence, there was a lot of violence, violence leading to other violence, different views. Ones wanted to be centralize the power in Paris, and the other one wanted more a federalist organization. And then, of course, the guillotine was working a lot at that moment, and we had a lot of people dying. And by the way, for the story, the parents of Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rivail, which was born, which we will talk about today, married in 1792, so very shortly after the revolution. And the grandfather on the mother's side, from Kardec, has been caught by the revolutionaries, sent to Lyon, and has been killed in the guillotine. And the future father of Kardec, or Hippolyte Rivail, has also been caught and was imprisoned during several months in the same period, but luckily he has been relieved. And otherwise, Kardec could not have this father, at least. Okay. So this is just to illustrate the violence who happened. There were also a lot of wars. Napoleon was at that time general of the army of Italy, French army on the Italian side, and won a lot of battle. And this is why he grew in position, because the revolutionaries needed to have good generals, and was nominated premier consul, as you explained it correctly, Stevan. And another small part of the story is that the father of Kardec was serving in this army of Italy, l'armée de l'Italie. So the father of Kardec knew the General Napoleon because he was a judge, military judge. So they knew themselves. This is on the human plan. But I think the rest of the story, we will now have to come back to this chronique of Umberto de Campos, given by Francisco Cândido Xavier, in order to understand a little bit better the plan the spiritually had at that time.
Right,
Thank you,
David.
Charles. Thank you. And now I like to go to our dear Vanessa, because this story was brought for us because of the Spiritist magazine in English. Vanessa has been published for years. I don't risk to say how many years, but it's years. If I'm in Ireland for 12 years, is almost nearly there. You know, and I'd like, Vanessa, if you tell us how important is the magazine for us, and why you, as an editor, decided to put this article, and what's the impact what's the feedback you're receiving from this article?
So it's I'm gonna show you something, okay? I'm gonna show right here to answer the first question here. Look at this. How many years we have been doing this? 15.
15. See, I was not too wrong.
15 years we've been doing this work non-stop, thank God. And the latest issue is this one. It's so simple. I want to show to people. When you click here, you go to our partner MagCloud, where you can buy it if you want, or you can read the digital form for free. Okay. I'm just opening here just to tease you, to show how beautiful and easy it is to read. And what is the reason why? I just want to clarify that every 3 months, when we compile the every issue of the Spiritist magazine, we know Ben Franklin has been on the behind the scenes of it since our mediumistic meeting at the Spiritist site of Baltimore in 2007. when we used to do a newsletter at the Spiritist side of Baltimore, which was in the English Spiritist movement, the newsletter was a major mass communication among Spiritists in English. So at a mediumistic meeting, a a spirit mentor connected to Ben Franklin came and wrote recyclographed saying, "You need to make it a magazine. Don't worry about the resources because they will come." And this was November 2007. And then I remember some members of the mediumistic meeting, they laughed. They were like, how do you think you're going to do it? I said, I don't know. We just received the message. Well, in December, I had to go to Brazil, and I stopped by at the Brazilian Spiritist Federation because I was visiting the current president, who was not the president at the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, Rodrigo. I was in his house, and then we were visiting the then president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, the Secretary General then of the International Spiritist Council, Mr. Mazzotti, and one of the directors, Cesar Pérez de Carvalho. We were visiting, just visiting, and then they sat down and they said, "What do you think about doing the Spiritist magazine?" And I immediately recalled the message. And it's interesting why they had to stop by in Baltimore to write this message, because I think if they hadn't warned us that we had to do it, when they invited us, I would probably have said, I'm not so sure. But then once we received the message, I said, it makes sense. So since then, we embraced the task, and here we are. So I'm mentioning this because the works of the magazine come from on high. They always show me the cover of the magazine and the theme that has to be up front. And this happened to this latest as well, about Napoleon and Kardec, which is actually, as Charles said, based on an article, the chapter of a book by the spirit author Humberto de Campos, or Brother X, through the medium, the Brazilian medium, Chico Xavier. That talks, actually, the title is Kardec and Napoleon. It's not Napoleon and Kardec, it's Kardec and Napoleon. And when you go through the message, we understand the relevance to the current times on earth in every sense of the way, collectively speaking, and it's very personal. This Sunday, in our center, the works of the children and the youth, we made like a game based on this message. And we made a mini video for the children and the youth, because Luis Rivas published recently a book for children and teens, especially preteens, about Napoleon, Julius Caesar, and Kardec. So we used it to make a video. Our friend Daisy is working on the video. And we made a game according to the spirit directions, in which they're going to learn right this. Who are we? Why are we here? How can we make sure we're not going to fail again? I'm sorry to say, but that's what we're talking about. A reincarnatory plan that Napoleon had, that Kardec had. All the assistance, and how we had everything to make it happen. But Napoleon failed. Why? It depends. We need to know his mission to understand why he failed. And we need to be fully aware that in spite of any progress we may cause in our thoughtlessness, because we don't fail 100%, the most important part of it, which is inside of us, we may never win. I'll give an example. Senator Publius Lentulus, as described by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier in the book 2000 years ago. To the world, he was the best senator ever. He was successful, he was great, he had integrity for the time. And he says in the book, I failed. Why? Because the goal of that life was not to be the best senator, but to be a senator who followed and embraced the Christ consciousness. And he refused it. Same for us. Even as spiritists, I think this message is not only but mostly for spiritists nowadays. Why are we reincarnated? Are we reincarnated for the world to applaud us in our positions and then destroy the works of the Christ, but fulfill to make our name look good? Napoleon tried that way and he failed. So this is the main reason why the good spirits brought to us. And I love the article by Chris Loney, an American who writes about the Napoleon syndrome, because he says in an analogy, like Judas, he failed because of his vanity. Napoleon failed because of his vanity, because of his self-centeredness, his egotism, his egocentrism. And that doesn't mean we're not going to fail if we keep on focusing on doing things to show instead of doing things out of love. This is a parenthesis I want to bring before I pass the word here. I have been discovering this through lots of studies in Spiritism, that it's not so much what we do that matters, but how we do it. It's not so much, oh, I give classes, I give talks, I give courses, I write books. That doesn't matter. What matters is, how do I do it? Do I do it out of true love and empathy and compassion, feeling that fraternity inside of me, solidarity inside of me? Or do I do it just for show and then deep inside I'm empty? And I've seen a lot of spiritist workers, practitioners, getting tired, stepping out because they are not doing it with feelings. And it's just like Napoleon. He was doing it for a show. And I love Napoleon, I tell you the truth. I don't know, I love him. I watched the movie. I don't know if you watched the movie already, but the movie, I don't agree with the take because they were kind of brutal on him in so many instances. But I think it portrays the main message that Umberto de Campos says. At some point, the British general looks and describes him in precise words that we see in this message by Umberto de Campos. His pride, his egocentrism took over everything, and he didn't fulfill his mission in that life, which was directly connected with the plans of the governance of the earth of the Christ. Right? I'm not going to spoil the rest of the story for those who are here for the first time to understand why Kardec is in the story with Napoleon, right? As Charles said already, was a teaser. Materially, there is a connection, but spiritually, wow. It's a wow for us to know the relationship between Kardec and Napoleon. And when we see that Kardec seems to be a seamless figure in the world, and then we get to know the message that he was way above Napoleon in so many instances. But I won't spoil because we have so many friends here to contribute, right, Stevan?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Uh, well, and Elsa it is with us today, my dear Elsa. Thank you for the efforts, my dear.
Thank you
So,
very
yeah, yeah. So I don't know, Silvia, if you just watch us or you risk to talk.
Um, I'm sorry, I've been having a lot of problems with the internet, so I'm on the phone now. If it's not too long, but I could listen to Charles and Vanessa all the time. But if you want to say me to say something, I think I can try.
Okay, we are eager to listen you.
Well, I think this is such a lesson for us, because the time that he's talking about Napoleon, and it's very interesting how Umberto de Campos brings it, the story of Kardec and Napoleon, and the connection and the mission that Napoleon Bonaparte had, uh, to allow the consoler that had been promised by Jesus that would come to the world. So, to prepare the field for it. And he failed, because, I said, pride. Um, and actually, yesterday, I was studying some things in the Mediums book, and they're saying one of the biggest problems that a medium has, and of course, as we are all mediums, but I think applies to everyone, is the question of pride. And it's so very difficult to deal with, because most times we are not conscious ourselves of the level of pride that we have. So this is one of the easiest things for us to not do what we need to do as well, because we begin to feel that we're better and superior. And also it's an opening door for us from the spiritual world to be taken to roads that we didn't really mean to go, and forget our own. And this is very, very important, because Napoleon Bonaparte, he had such a mission to fulfill, after the many centuries that the French people suffered, and the difficulties and the poverty. The revolution was almost like a solution, because there was nowhere else, no way that they could come out of that. But everything, the ideas, everything was completely transformed and went in that completely wrong way. And the people not only were suffering before, but suffer even more afterwards, because then not only they had the poverty, but they had the war. And I think also the way the whole thing transformed what was, I think Charles usually quotes it very beautifully: fraternité, equalité, and
Fraternité.
solidarité.
Liberté.
Yeah, fraternité, liberté, equalité, n'est-ce pas?
Liberté,
Um,
égalité, fraternité.
Thank you. So that was supposed to be the the work in the field in which the consoler had to come. But like with everything else, Napoleon failed, and like we do many times. I mean, we don't have that kind of mission, but we all have one to do. But I think, like Vanessa mentioned, then I think a question of pride, because then he started believing himself to be very superior, and he forgot. And I love that imagery that Umberto de Campos, in his Cartas and Chronicas, he talks about how Kardec actually took Napoleon in his arms and took him back. So he knew, you had this amazing number of spirits of light who come to support him, because the man who's going to bring the consoler was going to come to earth. And you would think that he would feel it, but he forgot it. And I think it's a lesson for us. Do we forget our own mission? Do I forget the one work? You know, sometimes when we have something to do and we think, oh, maybe, you know, not that important. It doesn't matter, because everyone is important, because it's like a huge jiggle puzzle, and you have the big pieces and the small pieces, and to each we have a piece. And if a piece, even though it's a small one, is not done, the picture is incomplete. And I think that's one of the lessons that I feel that for us, you know, and how important it is, because in many ways we are very much like what happened with the French Revolution. You know, we're seeing things around the world now, you know, fighting for power and the destruction of people's lives, and almost the complete ignorance of most people is quite shocking. And I think one of the problems is that we seem to have lost God. We have lost God from our hearts. And there are so many different gods now taking the place of the God that should be in our hearts. And for us as spiritists who have this experience and who have this learning, who know about the consoler and what it means, we need to be really very sure of what we are doing, the dedication we need to do to the work. And it doesn't matter, small one, big one. You know, I think Vanessa was talking about talks and things, but if I need to go to the Spiritist Center and sit there and help with the coffee, I'm already doing something, you know. And I think we need to be very sure of and really hold on not only to the teachings of the gospel, but also to the basic teachings of the Spiritism, because they complement the gospel. And I think for all of us, really go back to the teachings of Jesus and try to learn humility and try to learn service to others and to do our part. It's very, very important. I think what is necessary at the moment in this madness that the world has become is for us to create our own focus of light, small little pieces of light wherever we can. And it comes to mind, I'm going to finish soon. I remember when I read this André Luiz book, I think it was Nosso Lar, that they come to Europe, the spirits come to Europe, and during the war, and everything is so terrible, and they come into England, um, and they are in Bristol, and was a terrible, the city was being bombarded at the time, because like Britain, Liverpool were cities that were terribly marked by bombs, and they would bomb them terribly night after night. And there was completely darkness, and the spirits were there, and they saw this focus of light going up to heaven. And they said, oh, we need to go there. And they followed and went to the light. And it was a small church where people were actually together praying. They were hiding from the bombs, but they were praying. And their prayers were so strong that could lift this light into heaven. And the spirits who had come could rest for a bit, could help, you know, renew their forces and their strength. And I think that's what we need to do, create this focus of light in our homes, with the gospel at home, in our spiritist centers, and really try to make the effort to go there, to be with other people, to be unified, to be close. Because, you know, there's a lot of people now want to do everything online, but being together is very, very important, I feel. So, you know, that's that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Good to have you here. And thank you for your inputs. My dear Elsa, any an introduction from the topic today. I know
First of
you and me
all,
didn't watch the movie, but
yes, I didn't watch the movie yet because this time now it's a holiday, a lot of people here come and go, etc. So I have to have my time. But never mind, I will. Otherwise, I can buy it from the Prime. That is already in Prime, so Prime Video. But the importance that this live is now in Vanessa here and the Spiritist magazine bringing to the people, to the readers, this wonderful information and talking as well about the film and about Kardec and Napoleon, that is the message from Brother X in Cartas e Crônicas, the book. I don't know if this book is in English as well or not, Vanessa,
no,
Cartas e Crônicas, because
no.
this message is really is a wonderful. When you read
Maybe
the
some work
starting,
we could do, Elsa. Sorry, maybe a work we could think of doing, Vanessa, do you think?
I think you have to talk to the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. They are
Yeah,
the ones in charge. We can't do their work. You
yes,
know,
yeah.
they changed the rules. We can do what we do. We translated the article, it's in the Spiritist magazine, but the whole book, as far as I understand now, you have to ask permission to translate, you have to talk to them. So, I mean, as I talked recently to some people at the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, if I were in charge of Chico Xavier's books, I would have a plan at hand, a seriously committed plan to have these books rightfully translated and published in English. Unfortunately, that's not a priority, but we need this to be made a priority. Okay? We need this to be made a priority because the English language is the one that goes to the world. Whether people like it or not, that's how it is. But it's not on us. We are not in charge of it, unfortunately. We can translate pieces and bits and pieces here, but not the whole book. I mean, the whole book has to be done by them.
but it's something that we can think perhaps in the future. We don't know. But this particular message that is in the Spiritist magazine, no, Vanessa, the entire message in English, is a history. It's so important starting from the 17th of Brumaire, 1799. So starting everything, and Brother X comes saying things that for us, not for only Brazilians, not only for English or Irish or United States people, it's for the entire world. Entire world can receive benefit from this message because say about Napoleon, Caesar, about Socrates, about everyone, every spirit that was there in this meeting when he was preparing Kardec to reincarnate. And also, Kardec, at the end of the message, took Napoleon back to his physical body, the spirit. So it's touching message that is really can show to people after this live here. Perhaps we can display the live, the entire message that Vanessa translated to English, that can everyone can benefit from this message, this live, and this information. What do you think, Charles?
Yes, absolutely. And I was amazed when I discovered this book and this article. Luckily, we have it translated into French, thanks to this huge effort done by our dear Nestor Mazzotti, when he was president of the Brazilian Federation. And that time, really, we had, luckily in French, so a lot of good translators, and we have something like close to 100 books of Chico Xavier translated into French already.
Thank
So
God.
including this one. And this story of Napoleon really touched a lot of people here because the way it is written, the way it's really something that touches a lot the French people who are reading it.
Mhm.
And but there is also an idea generally saying Napoleon failed. Yeah, of course he failed. His selfishness, his pride, He wanted to govern not only France but the whole world. And okay, until a lot of people were killed, and La Bérésina, all this uh, war he lost in Russia and wherever, made him fall, lose his position of emperor, and coming to the next regimes in France. Nevertheless, he has done a lot of things, a lot of very good things. For instance, he has reformed the French state, how to say, administratively. Still today, it's quite close to what Napoleon has done. Napoleon has also written the civil code, so-called Code Napoleon, that is used until today as a basis for all the French legislation. He has done a lot of other good things. For instance, he has also reformed and simplified the French language and grammar. Huh? And it seems like this, okay, well, but so what? Huh? But you take the book of Kardec, written 1857, the Spirit's book, you can read it today with just a few words who have a little bit changed the meaning and so on. You can still read it exactly as it has been written. Try to do this in German or in Dutch or in another language. You will see the people from today are not capable anymore of reading the books of 150 years earlier. But thanks to Napoleon, in French, this is possible. And we have the books of Kardec still extremely clear with the meanings. We have the dictionaries of that time, and there is absolutely no doubt about the interpretation on top of the clear language Kardec used. The language, the French language, was very stable after Napoleon. So he has done a lot of good things. But, okay, he failed. Well, but one thing is sure, Kardec did not fail. He went to his mission until the end, leaving us for these 5 books, which are the Spirit's book, Medium's book, Gospel, Heaven and Hell, and Genesis, containing in extremely clear terms, very, very stable, this new paradigm, Spiritist paradigm, which is based on a reasoned faith and taking the best out of religion, which is the moral laws, taking the best out of science, which is the methodology, and putting them together in something new that is still misunderstood today, which is the Spiritist body of knowledge. So he did really his mission till the end. In spite of these failures of Napoleon, what must happen happens, will happen, and that because God knows everything, and the plans of God, we cannot, they cannot fail. They are secure. So really, I think it focuses on this episode, which is absolutely fundamental to understand better what happened at that moment.
Yeah. So just for everybody to get a context, as we said, in December 1799, we had this meeting in which many important spirits were attended the meeting, and some incarnated spirits, such as Napoleon, came to the meeting, and a messenger came to Napoleon, and the intention there is kind of give awareness to Napoleon that he wasn't fulfilling his his mission, and one of his mission was to prepare and spread the égalité, fraternité, equalité to all the world. So even though he failed, we have so many benefits from it. Can you imagine if he fulfilled his mission? he had done correctly, I would say we will be in a different position. Us today, this reflects us today, you know. And his mission is it was to prepare because it was programmed to reincarnate Kardec and came with the third revelation. So I'm just telling you why we are saying all this because that's the message. That's the relationship between Kardec and Napoleon. And I'm attempting to say, Vanessa, one of the benefits from Napoleon spread this message. We had the the freedom of the colonies in the United States, many other places. So, do you think, what's your best guess if Napoleon have reached his goal 100% and say, yes, we done it, we did it? Yeah, you're in a mute, my dear.
It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say where we would be, but as you said, we would be in a better position if he had taken it more humbly. Which I confess, when you watch the scenario, who was humble at the time? Huh? Please. And when I revisit Napoleon's history, let's be fair. I'm not justifying his mistake, but I'm saying, was everybody else very nice and friendly and so? No, the British were brutal, and they were brutal. The United States of America knows the British brutality, and I'm sorry to say this, but we know it was brutal at the time, and um, and others were not easy either. So there were people around who had the same mindset. We never come alone. It was not like Napoleon failed by himself. Of
Mhm.
course. And in the message, let me show the article for those who are here. Remember, you can read the magazine for free in your app. It's a free app. You can read online. You can download the PDF. There are so many, and you can even buy to have it delivered to your house. So let me share once again, okay, just to show this part of the look how beautiful. Luis Wu does a beautiful job with the art and design. And the article is here, and it says to us that when the illuminated spirit comes, it's through a dream for Napoleon. It's a dream. So here again, the importance of our spiritual life when we are at sleep. It's question 400 onwards in the Spirit's book by Kardec. We need to maximize the gain of our lives by paying attention to our dreams. He didn't know what to do with the dreams. So basically, through that dream, he was being reminded by the governance of the earth saying, look, remember when you were Julius Caesar? You made a mistake. Now it's your new opportunity because Julius Caesar had an opportunity. He was the greatest at the time. The goal of Julius Caesar, the reincarnatory plan, was to unite the people at the time, to disseminate one language, the Latin language, to prepare the grounds for the coming of the Christ later, and more easily spread the message out. He failed. He was given another opportunity. 18 centuries later, he comes back as Napoleon. It says in the message, it says, remember, you were born, and the Spirit says, you were born in an island. So you take it down on your pride. And I see so many people nowadays with this pride of nationality, etc. So we still have those things. And Napoleon, in order for him not to escalate, he was born in an island in Corsica. And he was given a position to help, and he was very instrumental, as Charles reminded us. Not everything is wrong, but the main thing he forgot to do, which was to unite people around, and let me say this, the French language, through which the message of the Christ through Kardec would go farther in the world. He didn't succeed in that regard in some instances, though he conquered a lot of grounds in some other ways. Nothing is 100% failed. But I like to read this message to think of us. We're here now. Some things we failed then, we need to do right. Some things we needed to redress and show that we learned. And everything we do is also for the collective. No matter how small we are, no matter how unknown we are in the world, it doesn't matter. What we do impacts everyone. And the question is, how much of Napoleon do we have in us? Because the spirit that comes in the message says, do not think that your victories in the battles are due to your wonderful strategies. No, they are because we are here helping because of this bigger plan. And friends, how often in our daily lives we think we got a new house, we got a new job, we got more money because we deserve, we're so good to God. That's wrong interpretation. Not because, oh, my children are so good and beautiful. Yes, I'm privileged. There are people who still feel, even spiritists, that they are given certain resources because they are the chosen ones. That's wrong. And then we make the same mistake as Napoleon. Instead, we should think, well, if God is giving this to me, it's because I need to maximize the collective benefit, multiply the talents, as in the parable of talents, for the general benefit. And then we're not going to fail. A mentor Joseph always gives me a rule. He says, you know, the golden rule, that's how you're not going to fail. If you think of others, if you think especially of those who are in need, if you're home, knowing all that we do, my friends, and think, oh, I'm so tired, I'm feeling lazy. Don't do this, because there are people who are in their homes, in their jobs, at hospitals, at prisons, at shelters, who don't know what we know, and if they knew where their lives would be better, the least we can do, the least, the very least, is to share. And instead of having this take mentality, it's the giving mentality, which was not in Napoleon's mind. And the people of his time, we can't say Napoleon alone. It's Napoleon and the crowd around in all the countries that were either against or in favor. And as a whole, we bet we didn't succeed at the level that we should. But let's compare here just to complement this. Look at Chico Xavier, opposite of it. Somebody who was also born in a very small village, now a town, then a village, Piro Leopoldo. Why did he succeed? His The reincarnatory plan was for him to psychograph 30 books. And he did the opposite. He did almost 500. Why? Humility. He never took charge and said, it's mine, it's because of me, because I'm great, because look at me. No, he's always said, it's not me, So that's a good reminder for us. And why did Kardec didn't fail? Because he was grounded. And look at Kardec's works. What I admire the most in Kardec is his education. Because when you're an educator, you think of others first. You think of, let me share with others so others can grow, can progress. If Kardec seated on his chair saying, wow, these are amazing things about the spiritual life, and kept it for himself and his friends, we wouldn't be here today. But because he thought of others first, he sacrificed his personality. He didn't want anything for himself. He never thought, what can I take from it? What can I gain from it? Instead, he said, how can I help others? Unlike Napoleon, two French men, and stories for us to really inspire in this new year, right? To inspire us and say, get rid of this silly ego and let us think of the general good. We're never going to fail this way.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Um, Charles, any wrap up message because we are already almost 10 o'clock. So I'm talking here for age. I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah, it's very nice really to have this complementary information coming from our dear Chico Xavier, and it's really amazing and showing, how to say, culturally, in the Latinity and so many aspects and details. And uh, what's also amazing for me is to see when you see the list of participants to that meeting, you had Jewish, you had Oriental people, you had Muslim, you had a lot. So in the spiritual world, all these good spirits are all together. Huh? And it's something fundamental that we have to learn here on earth, that we are all brothers. And to stop with these wars, with these rivalries, and thinking we are the best, or we are the only one having the truth and whatsoever. No, we should stay really humble and follow the example of these big missionaries who came to the earth. And I think Napoleon, albeit he failed, of course, he made a lot of mistakes, as I told, brought a lot of good things as well. And let's see. We don't know if he had another reincarnation since that one, but it's probably a spirit which has a bright future as well as every one of us.
Great. Thank you. My dear Silvia.
No, it's just was very instructive today. There was so many information, and I think it's a point, that Charles said, and Vanessa and Elsa and yourself. There's a lot of things for us to meditate, and I was just reminded that in that meeting, Beethoven was in that meeting as well, wasn't he? And
Yeah.
he was the one who wrote, this wonderful symphony, the fifth, which is called The Emperor, and in homage to Napoleon. And then afterwards, he felt so betrayed by what he was doing that he said, no, it's no more. But, it's one of Beethoven's best symphonies, the fifth. And of course, the piano concerto as well, which is called The Emperor, which is absolute magnificent. So, he inspired great things. And, like anyone else, like us, he made mistakes. And because his mission was much bigger than many of us, can see more. But we also have to learn a little humility goes a long way, and to sort of meditate and see pride, follow the teachings of the basic teachings of the Spiritist doctrine, And in the Medium's book teaches us so much how to analyze ourselves and, cut this pride that is really very vicious and toxic. So it's a lot to learn, and in our own little missions. And it's important for us to really think. And, like I said before, more than ever, we needed the gospel and we needed the Spiritist teachings, because we needed to create the focus of light in this planet now. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. My dear Elsa?
Only to say thank you. Thank you to God. And thank you the opportunity that the benefactors always are giving to us. So we have to have eyes to see and ears to listen, because it's very important what we have in our hands, free of charge, and here learning something good. Thank you all. God bless you all. God bless you, Vanessa, Charles, Stevan, and dear Silvia. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
this final word, Silvia. Learning about the opera. Thank
Thank
you.
and Vanessa, before you saying your wrap up message, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for open the Kardec Radio for us. Spreading the the spiritism teachings all over the world, because we don't know where it's gonna reach, when it's gonna reach. But I want to say thank you, and it's been a pleasure for us. We are going to our third year in a row. We are 30 year, yes, 30 years. So thank you very much.
Congratulations to you guys. I love this program. It brings so much information, and the unity amongst the European Spiritists is so important. So people are reassured that we're not alone. There are many of us, and as you're saying, it's gonna reach, and it's reaching so many people. So many people. Next week I'll turn 26 years in the United States. I've lived longer in the US than in Brazil. And I tell you, Spiritism is growing stronger in the world than 26 years ago when I started observing it. So it's growing places, and this program is certainly helping many people not only understand that we're not alone in our knowledge, but learning to share, learning to make it so fluid in our conversations. It's so natural that, when we least expect, many more people will join us. And that's why we need to be prepared, because they want more. They will want more. And that's why we keep doing the magazine, for when the time comes for greater understanding, people will have the materials at hand. And Kardec Radio is also here. By the way, Kardec Radio, I want to say, our YouTube channel is there. There is a friend who has been diligently organizing the playlists. We have almost 9,000 videos, podcasts, and it's the greatest source of information available in Spiritism, together with the Spiritist magazine. So it has everything we need, from interviews to children, teens. We have about books. There's so much at hand. And we invite everyone who wants to come, join, write a message to us, cardiacradio@gmail.com. If you have an idea about something, if you have a suggestion, let us know, because programs like this, they need to stay. They need to stay and bring more, because everything the spiritual life brings is really deep and deeply inspiring. I want to thank you, Stephen, Elsa, Silvia, and Charles, for everything you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So thank you, everybody. We have many people today. Um, our friend Ruben de los Santos in Uruguay, Erica N.G., Louviam, our friend Marco Davis, Danny Art, our friend Munir, Luciana Tezin. So thank you. More people. Stella Puig, Chris Helt, Ricardo Teófilo, our friend Cícero Andrade. So it's wonderful to have you all here with us today. So next week we'll be here again, 9 o'clock. We haven't decided the topic yet, but as soon as we agreed on topic, we will share on Facebook. Also, don't forget on the 21st of January, Charles is gonna give the second part of his talk about Camille Flammarion. The first part was amazing, good to know all those things about Camille Flammarion, and now he will come with the second part. And on the 28th, he will finish with the third part. Okay? So, my friends, thank you very much. Vanessa, Silvia, Charles, thank you. I wish you all a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
All the best.
Good night.